got most of them in. Look at that power I have. I just stand here and you start to get quiet. That's good news. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to Pacific Unitarian Church. It always says that here, but we know where we are. My name is Gary Hart. I'm not too sure who I am. And I will be your worship associate today as we enter our most favorite church season. Yes, it's pledge drive. Waiting outside with the lovely ladies in the desk, they have envelopes for everyone here. Please pick your envelope up today. Be generous. If you pay it here today, you won't have to post it. You'll save a stamp. It's an important church year because in this next church year, we will be calling a new minister. So we need everybody to give us their pledges and fulfill them, and everybody will be wonderful and happy. We'll keep doing great things. This is our chance, the pledge drive, to make sure that PUC is alive, well, and able to thrive. We have wonderful things here, and it's by the generosity of our congregants. So please remember, it's up to us. As I came in today, several folks from the Seekers group asked me if that smell in the hallway was coming from heaven. And I said, no, it's just Andy Kistner doing his wonderful pancake and bacon lunch. So we're glad to see Andy back. In any case, we welcome people of all creeds, races, sexual orientations, and gender identities. We remember that this church sits on what was Tongva land, and we acknowledge that these indigenous people are still among us. And hopefully they'll pledge. So like I said, get your envelopes back there from Melissa. They'll be back there to help you out with your pledge. We'd be glad to see that. Robin's there too. Yeah, don't let that scare you. So I have our second favorite time of church is announcements. It's pledge drive. Did you remember I said that already? Oh, yeah, okay. It's pledge drive. Let me have an amen. All right. A gender neutral. The men's group, which is a very popular group here with a lot of handsome young fellows that come to that, we're going to be moving in May to Saturday morning. We're going to be meeting at 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings in May at a local restaurant. So it'll be a breakfast meeting. We hope that will encourage a lot of you who couldn't come during the week to be able to come and join us. Save the date for PUC's annual anniversary dinner, Saturday, April 23rd. That's always a lot of fun. The community child group will be packing lunches on Monday at 1 o'clock. If you come help, they promise to let you lick the peanut butter off your fingers at the end. And believe me, there's a lot of peanut butter. Seekers will meet on Wednesday at 10 in the library. And the lunch group will continue to meet at noon on Thursday. Let Kelly know if you'd like to join, and she'll order you a pizza. Now it's time for our chalice lighting. Today's chalice lighting words come from Deborah Burrell. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets from the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy, peace, and generosity.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chloe Briede, and I'm the interim minister here at Pacific Unitarian Church, and it's lovely to see everybody here in person this morning and those of us who are joining us online. I'm going to open this morning with some sad news. Victor Briede died on Wednesday night, March 8th. Vic was a long-time member of this congregation, him and his wife, Betty, probably most definitely maybe the longest members of our congregation still alive. His son, Michael, and his daughter, Jennifer, were members of our youth group and in our children's program back in the day. So a family that really spent a long time here at PUC, and we hope to be there for Betty as she goes through her grief. So I'll light a candle this morning for Vic. We open with a call to worship this morning from the Reverend Leslie Takahashi from our congregation in Walnut Creek, California. To worship means to consider that which has worth. Today we consider with gratitude the many gifts of this community. The opportunity to be affirmed in who we are and to offer that affirmation to others. The chance to stand up together to help remake the world in the ideal of justice. The freedom to choose one's path to truth and to learn from the travelogues of others. The space to expand one's own spirit and to reconnect after busy or humdrum weeks with the sustaining truth of one's life. Regular reminders that we must see our world through the lens of love, and the aspiration to consider all life as precious, for if it is all made of stardust, how can it not be wondrous? So this morning, let us welcome all these gifts with gratitude, for they have been paid for with many currencies. The blood of the martyrs who died so that we can be a free religion, the sweat of those who persisted in justice's name against hostility and adversity, the tears of those who struggled to build better lives for those in this life, the questions of our children as they understand the world anew and offer understandings to us as a fresh lens, the laughter and joy of those giddy with the embrace of community, the dollars and cents of those who gave what they could and then stretched a little more. The infinite small acts of service that make the parts greater than the whole, done by those who knew themselves in sympathy with our purpose. So today we consider with gratitude and humility what it means to pay forward that which has been paid forward to us. And now, with all of this, let us enter into worship with gladness in our hearts. And we do this with an old favorite hymn, number 188, which is Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And you're invited to stand as you're willing and able.
Worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are. Come, whoever you are. Honor, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Good morning. Are we on? Hi, good morning. Can I have all the kids come on down? Good morning, kids. Lily, did you give out the quarters? Okay, give everybody two. Hi, Joynesses. Okay. These guys. Okay. This week at church, the grown-ups are going to be talking about the pledge drive. So who knows what tithing is? Tithing. Blink. Okay. Tithe. So a tithe is a portion of income given as an offering to your church. So the word tithe literally means tenth in Hebrew. So do you guys remember, we've been studying different holy books when we study world religions. So do you guys remember when I showed you how the Bible was divided into books and verses? Yeah. Okay, so in the book of Leviticus, chapter 27, verse 30, it says, "A tenth of the produce of the land, whether grain or fruit, is the Lord's and is holy." So because the idea of tithing comes from the Bible, many people who were raised in Christian and Jewish traditions grew up practicing tithing as part of their faith. So once upon a time, there was a little girl named Jewel who used to get $1 for allowance every week. So this is what I could get for $1. So I used to get all this for $1. And I would get lemon heads and fire sticks and watermelon stick. Jolly Ranchers used to come in a stick, not little pieces. It was a whole big candy. So I used to get 2. So I could eat one right away, and then I could eat the other one really slowly and torture my brother. Okay. So who knows how much a tenth of $1 is? So I would get $1, and then I would save a tenth, a dime. Okay. So put up 10 fingers. Okay, put one down. Okay, so what tithing means is 9 are for keeping to meet your needs and spend how you want, and 1/10, the part that's down, 1/10 is what you give. So because I had $1, I would put my dime in a little envelope and put my name on it and put it in the collection plate every week. And as I grew up, I continued this practice all of my life. And even when I didn't go to a particular church, I still would tithe to charities that I cared about. And even when I didn't have that much money, I would still tithe my time to charity projects. And when I had my own family, we would decide together at dinner time how our family would tithe both money and service. And the practice has been part of my life for as long as I can remember, because I did it I don't even remember when I started doing it, I always did it. And when I thought about it this week, I realized that this simple thing, this little thing, a dime, is a big reason why I grew up to work on so many social justice projects my whole life. Okay. So, in all of our lives, we think about what money can buy. So money can seem powerful, and it's an important tool. So I need 2 volunteers. 1, 2. Okay. It's up to you. Okay, hold the $1. Naomi has her hand up. Okay. So tear the $1. Rip it. Go ahead. Do you not want to? Is it hard? Okay, you don't have to. I just wanted to throw it out there. She did rip it. Yeah. So if there was only one person in the world, you could be a trillionaire, but it wouldn't even matter because all the money would be worthless. So although it's an object, it still holds the importance that we give it. Like, did you feel the resistance, how it was just seemed wrong to tear it, right? Because we put value on money, right? Okay, so why do we give money to church? Why do we tithe to church and pledge money? Why?
Because we care about church.
Right, because we care about church and we want to help it grow. Anybody else? Why do we give money to church? I see your wheels spinning. You can tell me later. She wants to say it, but she's being shy in church. Okay, so we give to church because this church belongs to all of us. We pledge to fund operations and to make sure that the church is here for us and for others in the future. So should everyone pledge the same amount? Do you think that that's fair? No. So 1/10 of my dollar when I was little is different than someone who might have lots of dollars. But if you have a lot or a little, the practice and the idea are the same, that we can all do our part, right? So can money be used as a tool for love and good? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So our faith is rooted in justice and the belief in personal freedom, and most importantly, love. So giving money to our church is like saying, I believe in what this place teaches, and I want it to be here so I can keep coming here to learn, and for new people to come, and also for people a long time from now who will still be able to come here. Because people way back 60 years ago, because it's almost our birthday, what's our age this birthday? 66. For 66 years, people have been giving their money and their time to keep these doors open, right? So you guys are usually out of service when offering is collected. But for fun, we're going to collect offering, and the church can tell us the affirmation of gratitude we say after we give to support our church. So we're going to pass the basket. You guys all have 2 coins. So you can keep one for yourself, and then if you believe in what this church teaches and you want it to be here, then we will donate the other coin to PUC. This is an interesting activity because if you feel resistance to giving your quarter, that tells you where we're at. You can give both if you want to give both. Okay, and who knows our affirmation of gratitude? Okay, church, are we done? We've collected our offering. Okay, let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may experience the generosity of others. All right, thank you guys. Let's leave this friendly place. Let's do it.
As we leave this friendly place, love gives light to every face. May the kindness which we learn, where the hearts will we return.
Okay, we didn't leave this friendly place fast enough. Sorry.
Every Sunday, we gather to share ourselves with each other. An important part of that process is sharing our joys, sorrows, concerns, and important milestones with each other. By sharing, we invoke the web of care in this community, people who journey beside us during the hardest of times. You're invited up to either take a candle and light it silently, or share briefly what's on your heart and then light your candle. Let us enter in together into a time of giving and receiving. You're invited up if you'd like.
Let's see if I light it.
And if you would join me in the spirit of prayer, taking a deep breath in and out, feeling the cool air in our nostrils and our bellies rise and fall. You may close your eyes or perhaps just soften your gaze a bit. Spirit, we breathe in and out, together in and out, breathing as a community. We come together today with the theme, keep on moving forward. Forward is sometimes hard. God, sometimes we are tired. Sometimes we are sad, holding deep grief. God, sometimes we don't know what to do, confused at the next step or fearful of changes in our lives. It can be so hard to be brave. God, sometimes we have done wrong. We seek forgiveness or need to forgive others. This too is hard. The world, though, keeps on turning. It does keep moving forward. Even when things are hard, we keep on moving. Goddess, comfort us as we continue on this journey. Take us into your infinite arms and comfort us, especially when the journey is difficult. Remind us that we are not alone. We are surrounded by a community of care and love. As we keep on moving forward, we also find great hope and joy. The song we sing talks about moving with love and pride, with a dream towards justice. It reminds us to keep marching forward for justice. There is joy and hope in this message, Goddess. Great Spirit of all, help us to hope, to know that progress continues, that justice does come, especially when we are moving forward together. May it be so. Amen. And we'll take our meditative time listening to Severin play us our musical meditation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Patterson, and you need to be forewarned, I am not the famous author that wrote all those books that you read. My wife Robin and I have been members of PUC since 1964. And according to my calculations, that's 59 years. And we've been asked, why do we pledge and increase our pledge every year to its present level? And then why have we been so committed to this church for so long? Since we have been here at PUC, PUC has been on the right side of history. In the 1960s, we protested against the Vietnam War, and the church became a symbolic sanctuary for draft resistors and conscientious objectors. Robin was on the board at that time with a gentleman by the name of Jerry Hill, who was our lawyer, tasked with counseling objectors. We also marched in that period for the farm workers and Cesar Chavez in their successful grape boycott. And some of our members were arrested and strip searched in the process. We rallied for our Jewish brothers and sisters when they were intimidated and threatened. And we formed black and white dialogues after the Watts riots to try to improve race relations. And we also opposed legislation criminalizing same-sex marriage. Yes, PUC has been on the right side of history, and I think that it has continued to play that role right up until the present time. We also need this place and space for the children where they are encouraged to challenge and explore all the possibilities. Where they are, as our hymn says, nurtured and loved and conscience refined. Robin and I love the beauty of this space, where we can watch the hawks soar out here and be one with nature as we are prodded from the pulpit to reset our moral compass and be our better selves. And the music. Music that transforms and heals. In 2008, Reverend John Morehouse, Terry Masters here, and Robin had the task of finding a new choral director and a music director at PUC. They had some wonderful applicants, and it was quite a dilemma deciding who they were going to select. But as Robin said, the stars were aligned, and they chose Severin, Dr. Severin Bainan here. But I don't think they really had a clue as to the true talent and genius of this man. But what resonated with them, however, were two phrases that he wrote on his resume, and I'm going to quote them for you, if you don't mind, Severin. He said, "I am interested in working in a liberal, open, and intellectually stimulating environment that promotes justice and peace." And then he said, "I am passionate about performing and teaching and composing." And as passionate as he is, he's also very kind. So what are his dreams for the coming year? You will hear some beautiful music again, and he would also like to make some fun arrangements that you'll enjoy. And he would also like to have some funds available to him so that he could bring in outside musicians to perform for him. And he would love to also have those of you who are singers join the choir. I think you will join. If you join them, you won't be disappointed. I'd like to conclude by inviting you to join Robin and me in pledging today. And if you can, please consider increasing your pledge from last year so that PUC's beacon of light will continue to shine brightly across the South Bay. Yes, we have been in for the long haul, and it has been a most rewarding journey. Thank you for your kind attention.
And Melissa's back in the back holding up our Keep on Moving Forward sign if you want to take a glance behind you. And yay! Good news, good news. And we'll join together in singing our centering hymn, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and to this we live in harmony. Oh, you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. To you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and to this we live.
Often the organizations we give money to are ones that touch something deep in our hearts. Living in Maine last year for me was sometimes lonely. We lived in a rather rural area as compared to here in LA. There was a small local college, and a smattering of restaurants, and not much else to do, at least from a social perspective. Like most folks these days, in my loneliness, I found my way to the internet and a podcast. The podcast is called The Astronomy Cast, and each week it talks about a topic dealing with space. It ranges from the theoretical, like dark matter, to the practical, the problems of space junk and what we should do about it. The hosts are a science journalist and a PhD astronomer. I didn't always find space interesting. Sometime in the last few years, or the last 5 years, I became more enamored with science and understanding it. A good friend of mine is an astronomer, so perhaps I was trying to understand him a little better. The show also goes live on YouTube, and for 5 minutes or 15 minutes before they start the show, or even a bit after, the hosts chat. Everything from the antics of their pets to the weather in Illinois and British Columbia, respectively. In those lonely moments of my days off in Maine, I was comforted by the banter of two friends and their podcast. I also felt a part of a digital community. We would all watch the show and say hello to each other in the chat. We would ask questions and give encouragement. It's funny how even something in the digital universe can ease the burden of loneliness just a little bit. I found myself at some point during that year beginning to donate money to their efforts through a nonprofit called the Planetary Science Institute. I donated because I believe us lay people outside of school should have access to easy to understand science information. I also donated because I wanted to help continue the friendly, warm content put forward by the podcast. The warmth that got me through sometimes hard times and a sometimes hard winter. Mark Morrison Reed, at the end of his book, Revisiting the Empowerment Controversy, says this: "After the Black student rebellion hit my college campus, I flunked out and slunk back home to Chicago. Not knowing where to turn, I went to church. They were glad to see me, and very quickly and not surprisingly, I was recruited to teach in the Sunday school kindergarten. Something happened there that made a disheartened 19-year-old drag himself to church every Sunday morning. The kids, particularly a developmentally delayed African-American boy named Dickie, thought I was great. I was broken, but their unconditional regard began to restore my self-esteem." He says, "And 6 months later, I moved from the south side of Chicago to the south end of Columbus, Ohio, off the Parson Avenue corridor where the smokestack haze from the Buckeye steel plant never lifted, to begin working with African American youth as a volunteer in service to America, of VISTA, which is now the AmeriCorps program." Morrison Reed continues, "I returned to church because it was my spiritual home. It was a place where I had been nurtured, and because I was nurtured, I grew. Having grown, I could give, and having given, I grew more. It was a place where in pain I could go, where having gone, I was cared for, where cared for, I could heal and go on. It was a place that was concerned with the world, and in showing me that I was connected to others, taught me to care, and that caring demanded that I act. So be it," he says. Churches, probably more than podcasts even, are places where we can go when we need friends, when we need comfort, and when we need company. In particular, I feel a deep connection to Morrison Reed's story. Church was a place that accepted him in his brokenness. I found community and comfort at church as a teenager. I wasn't popular, and I was often unsure where I fit in. Church was a place where I, as an angsty teen, found home. I was warmly welcomed by my friends in the youth group and by all sorts of elders who had watched me grow up over the years in that community. I still get that welcome at my church in Newport News, Virginia, even though I haven't been back to that church since before the pandemic. I know if I walked in those doors, there would be, "Hey, Chloe." As I went about my adult life doing AmeriCorps, much like Morrison Reed, I found my way into Unitarian Universalist churches along the way. During short periods of service with AmeriCorps, church was a place a temporary person could go and find company. I spent a year in a church choir in Burlington, Vermont, and a few short months in one in Sacramento, California. Each time I was welcomed with open arms, even though my time with those congregations was short. We give to the organizations that speak to our hearts, that hold our hearts with tender care. Jewel talked a little bit about tithing, and I really loved her example of her dimes, that dime from that dollar that she got every week. For some, there is a religious obligation to tithe, sharing 10% of your income with the church, a tradition with origins in Judaism, and in particular from the Bible. Though the original text, as you heard from her, talks about offering 10% of your harvest at the temple rather than your money necessarily. Other traditions do things differently. The third of the 5 pillars of Islam, the one right after prayer, is zakat. the giving of money to the needy and poor primarily. Zakat for most Muslims is 2.5%, or 1/40th of your resources. This is probably a more reasonable number to our ears than the 10% described in the Hebrew Bible. The Islamic Society of Boston says that paying zakat is meant to remind Muslims to be appreciative of the blessings that Allah has bestowed upon them and to help empower those who have less. Muslims believe that in practicing the pillars of their faith, they are growing closer to God, to Allah. Giving to charity makes you feel closer to God. They also regard giving zakat as a method of purification, perhaps knowing that capitalism and profit are not always clean or fair. There is some relief in giving money away, in doing good rather than harm. Additionally, zakat builds relationships among the community. Providing for your community can help the entire community grow and thrive. I love that charity is a fundamental part of faith. And the practice of zakat goes beyond something like simple charitable donations like we might think. And in some countries, it supports an entire system of social and welfare programs for the needy. It helps institutionalize a kind of giving to the poor and the upholding of relief systems. And this practice, in fact, makes Muslims one of the most generous religious groups in the United States. We as Unitarian Universalists don't have a scripture that mandates a certain amount of money or speaks highly of the practice of giving at all. Instead, you get me once a year asking you to help support our community. We are lucky as a church, I'll say that. We have a beautiful site and a thriving Pacific Sage preschool. These two things make it so that we are somewhat less dependent on pledges than other churches. And I do want to thank Sylvia, who's our preschool director, and Lynn, our events coordinator, for helping us towards financial stability and making things easier for PUC. I think it's huge. Sunday morning and the other events and programs that make this a church wouldn't be here, though, if we were only funded by our events and the preschool. The things that make Pacific Unitarian Church, a gathering of people who identify with Unitarian Universalism in some way, is the generosity of members and friends. Our fulfillment of our monetary pledges, along with other donations we receive from all of you. It's a part of what makes church possible. Church, a community that gathers to worship and sing, to hold each other in our hardest moments, and to celebrate our achievements, to think and explore together, to figure out what it means to be good humans in an ever-changing, ever-challenging world. Church, PUC, a place that has the power to save, to provide a container that held little old me as I grew up and traveled with AmeriCorps, and Mark Morrison Reed as he left college and figured out a new reality. An anecdote to the loneliness many of us feel in this society. This year, our stewardship theme is based on the song by Emma's Revolution, Keep On Moving Forward. The stewardship team picked it because it speaks to our time of transition. One minister has left, and I'm here for an interim time. We have spent time looking at our history, and now we move into a time of examining who we are and how we want to move forward. We are strong despite the transition, despite the pandemic. We are moving forward with love, pride, boldness, and a commitment to justice as spoken of in that song. We keep on moving forward as a community. So on this Stewardship Sunday, we invite you to help us meet our pledge goal, a lofty goal that hopes to continue to fund many of our key important programs and to give some of our staff members a much needed raise. An invitation to contribute to the work of this community, the work that makes it a church, to contribute to our efforts to keep our community moving forward, to continue our work of creating a better world. As we close this morning, I invite you to consider what this church means to you. How has it touched your heart? Is it similar to me, a community that held you through the lonely, hard times of your life? Or perhaps it's a place you've come with spiritual questions, a need for a church that holds you even if you don't believe in God. What else does church mean to you? An intellectual community, a community of seekers, a caring community, a place to feel some relief from the busy world. How has church touched your hearts, beloveds? And how might you help us thrive in the year to come? May it be so. Amen.
This darn envelope's getting heavy. I got to turn it in. My pledge. Okay, it's time for the offertory, where you can share your saving ways with PUC. And I have a story that relates to saving. One of our more frugal PUCers walked into his house after a stewardship meeting the other day. He was panting and almost completely exhausted. "What happened, honey?" inquired his spouse. "It's a great new idea I have to be a better steward of our resources," he said. "I ran all the way home from church behind a bus and saved $1.50. The wife sat there for a moment. Then she said, "You can do better than that. Next week, why don't you run behind a taxi and save $10? So please be generous. The baskets are coming. And remember to run home behind a limo where you can save $100.
This is a poem by Robert Frost. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today, and give us not to think so far away as uncertain harvest. Keep us here all simply in the springing of the year. Oh, give us pleasure in the orchard white, like nothing else by day, like ghosts by night, and make us happy in the happy bees that swarm dilating round the perfect tree. And make us happy in the darting bird that suddenly above the bees is heard, the meteor that thrusts in the needle bill and off a blossom in midair stands still. For this is love, and nothing else is love. So give us not to think so far away, as uncertain harvest keep us here, all simply in the springing of the year. All simply in the springing of the year.
Thank you, Severin. Well, we did it in the children's time, but let's do it again, our affirmation of gratitude. It's a good day to do that. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us also be grateful for our needs, so that we may experience the generosity of others. And now it's time for our closing hymn, Keep On Moving Forward.
Here we go. We're gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna keep on walking proudly. Keep on walking proudly. Keep on walking proudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna keep on singing loudly. Keep on singing loudly. Keep on singing loudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly, never turning back, never turning back. We're gonna keep on moving forward, keep on moving forward, keep on moving forward. Never turning back, never turning back.
And you all may be seated. And we do promise that that will become an earworm over the next month. Join me in our closing words, Gary. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together. In spite of time and death and the space between the stars, we pause in silent witness to that unity.
May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts, now and forevermore. So be it. Amen. Shalom. Salam. Namaste. And blessed be. And now our service truly begins. And Robin Patterson at the piano.
Thank you, Robin. Appreciate it. I could hear the bells, and I could also imagine snow or rain falling too at the same time. So thank you all. You're welcome to join us for lunch. If you're new, lunch is on us as always. Otherwise, please eat and stop by the stewardship table and pick up your pledge envelope. Thanks, everyone.